Daniel Collins straightened his tie and took a deep breath. Today would change the course of human history forever. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council stretched before him, filled with representatives from over 200 alien species. Most of them looked down on humans. That would end today. The people of Earth have reached a decision, Daniel announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. After 50 years of membership, humanity will withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. Gasps and angry shouts filled the room. The tall, blue-skinned Aldebaran representative, Councillor Zexteran, rose to his feet. Ambassador Collins, you cannot be serious. No species has ever left the Council voluntarily. Your civilization will collapse without our guidance and technology. Daniel smiled. We appreciate your concern, Councillor. But humanity has determined that the benefits no longer outweigh the costs. For decades, we've been treated as lesser beings. Our innovations have been taken without credit. Our requests for equal representation have been denied. We've had enough. The Council chairperson, a small gray alien with 6 eyes, raised her hands for quiet. Ambassador, please reconsider. The Council has protected Earth from cosmic threats. We've shared knowledge that advanced your civilization by centuries. Knowledge you carefully controlled, Daniel replied. Technology you never fully explained. We were meant to remain dependent on you, but humans are resourceful. We've learned more than you realize. At that moment, the lights in the chamber flickered. Outside the massive viewports, hundreds of human ships appeared, emerging from faster-than-light travel with technology the Council didn't know humans possessed. As you can see, Daniel continued, we no longer need your oversight. Humanity wishes the Council peace and prosperity, but from this day forward, we chart our own path among the stars. Councillor Zexteran's face darkened with anger. You will regret this decision when your civilization crumbles without us. You humans are children playing with forces you cannot understand. Daniel gathered his documents. Perhaps you've underestimated us all along. Goodbye, counselors. He walked out of the chamber with his head held high, ignoring the chaos behind him. 6 hours later, Captain Laura Bennett stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Guardian, watching as the last Council ships departed Earth orbit. The blue-green planet below seemed somehow more vibrant today. Captain, all Council vessels have exited the solar system, reported Officer Ryan Kelly. We're truly on our own now. Laura nodded. Send word to all Earth colonies. Operation Independence is complete. In her office at the United Nations building in New York, President Elaine Foster read the confirmation. 50 years of playing the obedient junior partner to advanced aliens had ended. She opened a secure channel to Earth's secret research facilities scattered throughout the solar system. The Council has withdrawn. You may proceed with full deployment of all independent technologies. No more hiding what we can do. Across Earth and its colonies on Mars, Europa, and beyond, hidden factories powered up. Systems that had been developed in secret came online. Humanity had prepared for this day for years. At his apartment in Geneva, Daniel poured himself a drink and looked at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, not distant points of light controlled by ancient alien civilizations, but future homes for human expansion. His communication device beeped. A message from Dr. Paul Wilson, Earth's leading expert on alien technology. Phase 1 successful. Council completely unaware of our technological achievements. They still believe we need their FTL drive designs and defense systems, if they knew what we've actually developed. Daniel smiled. The Council had always seen humans as clever pets, useful for solving problems, but never worthy of true respect. They had missed something fundamental about humanity, our endless drive to understand, to improve, to become independent. His device beeped again. A message from Laura. Last Council monitoring satellite disabled. We are now truly sovereign. Daniel raised his glass to the stars. And now we'll show the galaxy what humanity can really do. What no one yet realized, not Daniel, not Laura, not even President Foster, was how deeply the galaxy had come to depend on human ingenuity. The Council hadn't been supporting humanity. In many ways, humanity had been quietly supporting the Council. And now that support was gone. 5 years passed since Earth left the Galactic Council. The dire collapse predicted by Counselor Zex Terran had not come to pass. Instead, human colonies thrived across the solar system and beyond. Nathan Harris wiped sweat from his brow as he made final adjustments to the massive engine before him. As chief engineer of the Earth Science Academy, he had spent 3 years perfecting this creation, humanity's first truly independent faster-than-light drive. Power levels stable, Nathan called out his assistant, Molly Bates. "We're ready for the test." Nathan nodded. "Begin the countdown." In the observation room above, a crowd of Earth's top officials watched eagerly. Among them stood Daniel Collins, now Secretary of Interstellar Affairs. The old Council FTL drives required exotic materials that only the Council could provide. This new drive didn't. 10 seconds to activation, announced Molly. The massive engine hummed, pulsing with blue energy. Unlike the golden glow of Council technology, this was pure human innovation. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Activate. The engine flared brightly, creating a perfect bubble of distorted space around the test chamber. Instruments confirmed what everyone could see: stable, faster-than-light conditions without any Council components. The room erupted in cheers. Daniel smiled. With this technology, humanity could expand across the stars without Council approval or oversight. "Secretary Collins," a voice said quietly beside him. Daniel turned to see Karen Miller, head of Earth Intelligence. Her expression was serious despite the celebration. "We need to talk. Privately." They moved to a secure room away from the excitement. Karen activated a scrambler to prevent any possible eavesdropping. "Our agents have been monitoring Council space," she said, bringing up images on the screen. "We're seeing signs of trouble." Daniel studied the data. Trade routes between Council worlds showing significant decline. Energy output of major systems dropping. And most concerning, refugee ships appearing at the edges of human territory. "How bad is it?" Daniel asked. "Worse than we expected, and happening faster," Karen replied. "The first systems began experiencing technological failures within months of our departure. Now it's spreading." She showed him footage from their undercover operative on Proxima Station. Alien ships of various designs, many looking damaged or poorly maintained, gathered near the border of human space. These vessels are carrying refugees from Council worlds. Their systems are failing, and they don't know how to fix them. Daniel frowned. "I don't understand. The Council had technology for thousands of years before humans joined them." "Yes, but they stopped innovating. They had ancient systems that worked, but they didn't understand how they worked. When parts broke, they replaced them. When systems failed, they followed old manuals." "And humans?" Daniel asked, though he already suspected the answer. "We fixed things. We improved things. We figured out how systems worked and made them better." The Council became dependent on human engineers and problem solvers without ever admitting it. At that moment, Daniel's communication device beeped. A message from President Foster. "Emergency meeting at 1800 hours. Aldebaran delegation requesting urgent talks." Daniel looked back at the screen showing the refugee ships. "They said we would collapse without them," he said quietly. "They never considered they might collapse without us." 2 days later, Daniel sat across from a very different counselor, Zex Terran. Gone was the proud, condescending Aldebaran who had dismissed humanity. This Zex Terran looked tired, his blue skin pale with stress. "The Core Systems Maintenance Guild is failing," Zex Terran admitted. "Critical infrastructure on 12 major worlds has begun shutting down. We need your help." "The same help you took for granted for 50 years?" Daniel asked. Zex Terran lowered his eyes. "We did not understand how much we had come to rely on human innovation and problem-solving skills. Our species maintained the same systems for generations, following procedures without understanding principles. Your people constantly questioned, improved, and truly understood the technology. Daniel leaned forward. And now you want us to come back and fix everything. We are prepared to offer significant concessions, Terran said. Equal representation on the council. Unrestricted access to all council archives. Daniel stood up. I'll bring your proposal to our leadership. But understand this, if humanity returns to galactic affairs, it will be as equals, not servants. As Zix Terran nodded in desperate agreement, Daniel realized the balance of power had shifted completely. Humanity hadn't just survived without the Council. The Council couldn't survive without humanity. Dr. Olivia Martinez had never seen a Vexari cry before. The tall, four-armed aliens were known for their pride and emotional control. Yet here was Speaker Tolrath, leader of the Vexari delegation, tears streaming from his 3 yellow eyes as he described conditions on his homeworld. Our atmospheric processors failed last month, Tolrath said. Half of our southern continent is now unbreathable. My people are dying. Olivia nodded sympathetically. As head cynobiologist at Jupiter Research Station, she had been assigned to interview the first wave of alien refugees. The Vexari were just one of 12 former Council species seeking help from humans. How did the processors fail? She asked, recording his response. The control systems became unstable. Our technicians followed the maintenance protocols, but nothing worked. These systems ran perfectly for centuries before. Before humans left the Council, Olivia finished for him. Tolrath nodded sadly. We never realized. Your engineers didn't just maintain our technology. They understood it in ways we have forgotten. When parts failed, humans didn't just replace them. They improved them. In another part of the station, Commander Jack Freeman faced a difficult decision. His ship, the EDF Horizon, patrolled the border between human space and former Council territory. On his view screen, hundreds of alien vessels clustered near the Jupiter checkpoint. We have another 1,000 ships approaching, sir, reported his second-in-command, Lisa Dawson. The station can't handle this many refugees. Jack frowned. How many people are on those ships? Sensors indicate approximately 28,000 individuals. Many ships show life support systems operating at minimal levels. Jack thought about the orders from Earth Command. Maintain border security. Limit refugee acceptance to official processing centers only. But those centers were already overwhelmed. Sir, Lisa said quietly, if we turn them away, many won't survive the journey to the next checkpoint. Jack made his decision. Contact the fleet. We'll escort the most critical cases to Europa Station. The rest will form an orderly line. No one gets turned away if their life support is failing. Lisa nodded with relief. Yes, sir. Back on Earth, Admiral Susan Rivera disagreed strongly with Jack's compassionate approach. She stood before the Earth Defense Council, her expression stern. We cannot sustain this level of refugee acceptance, she said. Our resources are limited, and how do we know this isn't some trick by the Council to infiltrate our territory? Across the table, Secretary Daniel Collins shook his head. The intelligence is clear, Admiral. This is no trick. The Council truly is collapsing. Then let it collapse, Susan replied. They looked down on us for 50 years. They treated us like servants and children. Why should we help them now? President Elaine Foster raised her hand for silence. Because that's what humans do. We help those in need, even former enemies. Besides, added Dr. Paul Wilson, there's valuable technology and knowledge in Council space. If we don't act, other factions will claim it. The power vacuum could create worse problems later. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a compromise was reached. Earth would accept refugees on a limited basis and send technical teams to the most critical systems. On the neutral station where Daniel had met with Zix Terran, another meeting was taking place. Council Chairperson Elover, a small insectoid being, sat across from Earth's diplomatic envoy William Carter. "The situation is worse than we first admitted," Ilover said, mandibles clicking nervously. "Nearly 40% of Council systems are experiencing critical infrastructure failures. Without human engineers who understand how to maintain and adapt our ancient technologies, we cannot sustain our civilization." William leaned forward. Why didn't the Council species learn these skills themselves? Ilover's antennae drooped in shame. "Over thousands of years, we became caretakers rather than innovators. We preserved knowledge instead of expanding it. When humans joined us, you questioned everything, improved everything. You saw possibilities where we saw only established procedures." William studied the data pad Ilover had given him. The scale of the collapse was staggering. "We'll help," he said finally, "but things cannot go back to how they were before. The galaxy needs to change." Ilover nodded. "We know. The old Council is already dead. What comes next will be shaped by humanity, as much as any other species, perhaps more so." Outside the station, another refugee ship arrived, carrying desperate beings who once looked down on humans, but now looked to them for salvation. William Carter tried to hide his shock as he walked through the Council hub station. Just 8 months ago, this massive space station had been the crown jewel of galactic civilization. Now emergency lights flickered, and whole sections had been sealed off due to life support failures. "This way, Envoy Carter," said Dr. Patricia Yates, Earth's leading expert on Council technology. She pointed toward a large door marked with alien symbols. "The main control center should be through here." They had come to meet with the remaining Council leadership and assess just how bad the situation truly was. 6 armed human guards accompanied them. Not because they feared attack, but because desperation could make anyone dangerous. The control center was dimly lit to save power. Council Chairperson Ilover sat at a curved table with representatives from the 5 remaining functional Council worlds. Many seats were empty. "Thank you for coming," Ilover said, her insectoid features hard to read. "As you can see, matters have deteriorated." William nodded. "Our preliminary reports indicated serious problems. But this goes beyond what we expected." "Show them," Ilover commanded one of her assistants. A holographic map appeared, showing hundreds of star systems. More than half glowed red, indicating critical system failures. Another quarter glowed yellow, showing systems in decline. "The collapse is spreading faster than predicted," said Ilover. "When one system fails, it affects trade and support to others. It's a cascade effect." Patricia studied the technical data scrolling beside the map. "These are all identical system architectures," she observed. "There's no redundancy, no alternative designs." "Of course not," said a Medusan representative, his tentacles twitching with irritation. "The ancients designed these systems to be perfect. We maintained their vision for thousands of years. Until they started breaking down," Patricia replied. "Perfect systems need to evolve or they eventually fail." William walked closer to the map. "How many lives are at risk?" "Billions," Ilover answered simply. "Some can evacuate. Most cannot." William shared a look with Patricia. They had both read the classified reports. Earth could maybe handle 1 million refugees at most, not billions. "We need to understand exactly what happened," William said. "How did the Council become so dependent on human innovation without realizing it?" An older alien, a cronid with metallic skin, spoke up. "I can answer that. I was there when humans first joined the Council." The cronid, who introduced himself as Elder Vec, explained. "For millennia, we followed the ways of the ancients. Their technology worked perfectly if maintained exactly as specified. We became caretakers, not creators. Then humans arrived," Vec continued. "You were so different. When something broke, you didn't just replace it with an identical part. You asked why it broke. You improved it. You questioned everything. At first, we found this annoying," admitted Ilover. "But your methods worked. Slowly, we assigned more humans to maintenance and engineering roles across council space, without ever giving us credit or equal standing, William pointed out. The council members had the grace to look ashamed. Yes, Elover acknowledged. We treated humans as useful tools rather than partners. And now we pay the price for that arrogance. Patricia had been examining the station's systems while they talked. She turned to William with concern. This is worse than we thought. They don't just need our help with repairs. They've lost fundamental knowledge. What do you mean? William asked. They don't understand how their own technology works, Patricia explained. They know the maintenance procedures, but not the underlying principles. It's like knowing how to change a light bulb without understanding electricity. William stared at the galactic map, the red areas of crisis growing before his eyes. This wasn't just about helping former allies in trouble. This was about preventing a collapse that would eventually threaten humanity too. We'll need to establish a knowledge transfer program, William said finally. Not just fixing your systems, but teaching your people to understand and improve them. Like a school? Asked one of the council members, sounding confused. Exactly like a school, William replied. Because the galaxy needs to learn what humanity never forgot. How to question, adapt, and innovate. As the meeting continued, a ship arrived at Earth carrying data stolen from abandoned council archives. The information it contained would change everything they thought they knew about the council and humanity's place in the stars. Special Agent Heather Morris pressed her back against the cold metal wall as a patrol of Krek's security drones floated past. Once they were gone, she signaled to her team to move forward. The abandoned council archive station loomed ahead, dark except for a few emergency lights. Remember, we have 30 minutes before the station's orbit decays, Heather whispered into her comm. Get the data and get out. Earth intelligence had learned that several factions were racing to claim the valuable information stored in the station. Humanity needed to get there first. Agent Ben Lucas worked quickly to bypass the security door. Almost there, he said. These systems are impressive but predictable. No creativity. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing row after row of glowing data crystals. Agent Carly Dias whistled softly at the sight. That's a lot of information, she said. Focus on sections 12 through 18, Heather ordered. Intelligence says those contain the most important historical records. The team moved efficiently, downloading data while keeping watch for rival groups. Ben suddenly called out from a terminal he was accessing. Agent Morris, you need to see this, he said, his voice tense. Heather joined him, watching as images and text scrolled across the screen. Her eyes widened. Is this verified? She asked. Multiple sources within the archives confirm it, Ben replied. The Council has been systematically suppressing innovation for thousands of years. The data showed a clear pattern. Any species that developed too quickly or questioned Council traditions too deeply was either restricted or removed from the Council entirely. Humanity wasn't the first problem species. They were just the most recent in a long line that stretched back millennia. They were afraid, Carly said, reading over their shoulders. Afraid of change. Worse than that, Heather replied. They deliberately kept member species dependent on centralized technology. Look at these maintenance protocols. They're designed to prevent understanding, not encourage it. A distant explosion rocked the station. Their time was running out. Download everything and let's go, Heather ordered. Back on Earth, President Alexander Grant faced a room divided. His Security Council had been arguing for hours about how to respond to the growing galactic crisis. We should let them solve their own problems, said Defense Secretary Frank Powell. They treated us like second-class citizens for 50 years. Why should we care if their systems fail now? Because the collapse won't stop at their borders, countered Secretary of State Linda Howard. Refugee crises, resource wars, power vacuums. Eventually, these problems will reach human space. Not to mention the humanitarian aspect, added Dr. Sam Rivera, the science advisor. Billions of innocent people will suffer if we do nothing. President Grant had listened quietly until now. He stood up, silencing the room. "I've just received a preliminary report from Agent Morris's team," he said. "What they found changes everything we thought we knew about the Council." He shared the key findings: how the Council had systematically suppressed innovation, how they had deliberately kept member species dependent, and how humanity wasn't the first to challenge their authority. "This isn't just about whether we help them," Grant concluded. "It's about what kind of galactic civilization we want to build for the future." After more discussion, they reached a decision. Earth would establish Operation Lighthouse, a limited program to provide technical assistance to prevent complete collapse of nearby systems. As the meeting ended, Grant received another urgent message. The first human technical team sent to help the Arcturus system had been greeted not with gratitude but with an ambush. 3 engineers were dead, 2 were missing. "Some Council factions don't want our help," his military advisor explained. "They'd rather collapse than admit they need humans." Grant looked out his window at the stars visible in the night sky. For 50 years, humanity had looked up at those stars with wonder and hope. Now they knew the truth. The galaxy was breaking, and humanity might be the only civilization capable of fixing it. "Send in the rescue team," Grant ordered. "But make one thing clear: we help those who want to be helped. We won't force our assistance on anyone." What no one yet realized was that the greatest challenge wasn't fixing the Council's technology. It was fixing a culture of stagnation thousands of years in the making. Engineer Kevin Phillips wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on the power core of the Arcturus system's main station. 3 months into Operation Lighthouse, and the challenges were even greater than expected. "Hand me the flux calibrator," he said to his Novari assistant, Ziv. The 4-armed alien passed him the tool with a reverence that still made Kevin uncomfortable. The Novari had once been among the most vocal Council species arguing against human expansion rights. Now they treated human engineers like gods. "Will it work?" Ziv asked nervously. "The atmospheric processors need stable power within 6 days, or the outer colonies will become unlivable." "It will work," Kevin assured him. "But this is just a temporary fix. Your people need to learn how to maintain these systems yourselves." Ziv looked puzzled. "But the maintenance manuals don't cover these modifications." "That's the point," Kevin explained patiently. "You can't just follow manuals. You need to understand the principles behind the technology." This was the true mission of Operation Lighthouse, not just fixing broken systems, but teaching former Council species how to think creatively and solve problems themselves. Elsewhere in the galaxy, Captain Maria Sanders of the medical ship EDF Mercy faced a different challenge. Her vessel orbited the Rigel system, where a once proud civilization was suffering from widespread system failures. "Captain, the local authorities are restricting access to the southern continent," reported her first officer, Joe Martin. "They claim they don't need our help there." Maria frowned. Intelligence reports suggested otherwise. "Connect me with Administrator Kelvik." The alien official's face appeared on screen, his expression hostile. "Captain Sanders, I've told your people repeatedly, the Southern Territories are managing their own recovery." Maria wasn't fooled. "Our scans show critical life support failures in multiple cities. Let us help." "Your help is not needed or wanted," Kelvik snapped, then ended the transmission. Maria turned to her security chief, Alan West. "What's really happening down there?" Ellen brought up the classified intelligence report. "We believe certain Council factions are using the crisis to eliminate rival political groups. They're deliberately withholding assistance from regions that opposed them before the collapse." Maria felt sick. They'd let their own people die over political differences. "Power struggles get ugly," Alan said grimly, "especially when resources are scarce." Maria made her decision. "Prepare the emergency medical teams. We're going in without permission." On Earth, Secretary Daniel Collins read reports from across former Council space. 6 months into Operation Lighthouse, the results were mixed at best. Some systems embraced human assistance, and were recovering well. Others resisted, clinging to old ways even as their civilizations crumbled. Worst were those like Rigel, where powerful groups weaponized the crisis for their own gain. "We need a new approach," Daniel told President Grant during their weekly meeting. "Sending isolated teams isn't enough. We need to establish permanent human presence in key systems." "That sounds like colonization," Grant observed. "The very thing we resented when we were part of the Council." "Not colonization," Daniel clarified. "Partnership, equal exchange of knowledge and resources." After much debate, Earth leadership approved the creation of joint recovery centers in willing systems. Unlike the old Council model of centralized control, these centers would focus on teaching and collaboration. Kevin Phillips was among the first to hear about this new direction. As he finished repairs on the Arcturus power core, he gathered his Novari trainees. "From now on, we work differently," he told them. "I don't just fix things for you. We fix them together. And I teach you why each step works." Ziv seemed confused. "But this is not how the Council taught us." "Exactly," Kevin smiled. "And that's why the Council failed." Across the stars, humanity's approach began to make a difference. Systems that embraced human innovation recovered faster than those that resisted. A new pattern was emerging, not Council domination, but true cooperation. On the edge of former Council space, something else was happening. Ships from beyond known territories began to appear, watching the collapse with cold calculation, waiting for the right moment to make their move. The galaxy's troubles were far from over. 10 years had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. The galaxy looked very different now. Professor Alan Wright stood before 300 students at the Earth Diplomatic Academy. The audience included not just humans but representatives from 28 former Council species. "The old Council has officially dissolved," Alan announced, pointing to the latest reports on the display behind him. "In its place, regional alliances have formed. The largest is what we now call the cooperative sphere." The map showed how the galaxy had reorganized. Systems that had embraced human assistance glowed blue, forming a growing network of stable, recovering worlds. Yellow areas marked regions that maintained minimal contact with Earth. Red zones showed systems that had collapsed entirely or fallen under the control of opportunistic warlords. "The difference is striking," Alan continued. "Systems within the cooperative sphere have achieved 90% recovery of critical infrastructure. Those that rejected human assistance average only 30%. A Tellurian student raised her hand. "But Professor, isn't this creating a new power imbalance? Aren't we just replacing Council dominance with human dominance?" Alan smiled. It was a good question. Exactly the kind of critical thinking the Academy encouraged. "The key difference is transparency and education," he explained. "The Council hoarded knowledge. We share it. Every technological advancement developed within the sphere is available to all member worlds. Our goal isn't to make others dependent on us, but to help them become fully independent." Across the solar system, another discovery was unfolding. Dr. Lisa Chen worked in a secured facility on Mars, analyzing data recovered from abandoned Council archives. For 3 years, she had been piecing together fragments of ancient records, searching for patterns. Today, those patterns finally made sense. "I need to speak with Secretary Collins immediately," she told her supervisor. "What I found changes everything we thought we knew about humanity's role in the galaxy." 2 hours later, Lisa presented her findings to Earth's top officials. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. "You're saying humanity wasn't the first innovative species the Council encountered?" asked President Grant, now in his second term. "Far from it," Lisa confirmed. "I've identified at least 7 previous civilizations with traits similar to ours. Curiosity, innovation, rapid technological advancement. Each one joined the Council, and each one eventually disappeared from the records." Secretary Collins leaned forward. "Disappeared how?" "Different methods each time," Lisa explained, showing ancient documents on the screen. Some were deliberately fragmented. Their colonies separated and placed under different administrative sectors until their shared culture dissolved. Others were restricted from space travel after manufactured incidents. The most troubling cases were simply erased through engineered conflicts or disasters. And they did this because these species threatened council control, Daniel said. It wasn't a question. Lisa nodded. The council wasn't just stagnant. It was actively parasitic. It needed innovative species to maintain its technology, but feared them becoming too powerful. So it used them, then eliminated them when they became threatening. This cycle has repeated for thousands of years. But they failed with us, Daniel said quietly. Yes, Lisa agreed, because we left before they could implement whatever they had planned for humanity. The meeting continued late into the night as Earth's leaders discussed this revelation. Their decision was unanimous. This information needed to be shared with all former Council species. When the truth was broadcast across the cooperative sphere, the response was dramatic. More systems abandoned old Council loyalties and requested membership in the sphere. Others, driven by shame or denial, withdrew further into isolation. On a border outpost near what had once been Council core worlds, Lieutenant Eric Jones monitored unusual activity. Ships of unfamiliar design had been gathering just beyond sensor range. Intelligence suggested they belonged to species from beyond former Council space, civilizations watching the collapse with growing interest. "They're testing our response times," Eric told his commander. "I think they're preparing to move into former Council territory." The galaxy was entering a new phase. The collapse of the Council had created a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. The question was no longer whether humanity could survive without the Council, but whether the galaxy could rebuild before new threats filled the void left by its fall. 25 years after humanity left the Galactic Council, Earth received unexpected visitors. A delegation of ships arrived at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting a message of peace. They represented the Galactic Assembly, the successor to the old council that had emerged from the ashes of collapse. Ambassador Andrea Miller stood on the observation deck of Earth Space Station Alpha, watching as the Assembly flagship docked. As a child, she had listened to her mother's stories about working as an engineer on Council worlds, facing daily disrespect despite solving problems no one else could fix. Now Andrea would face the descendants of those who had looked down on humanity. But this time, the power dynamic was very different. "They're ready," said her assistant, Gary Peters. Andrea nodded and walked to the meeting chamber. Inside waited Grand Speaker Nevrin and representatives from 12 major galactic powers. Some were familiar Council species. Others came from systems that had joined the cooperative sphere. A few represented regions from beyond old Council space that had integrated peacefully into the new galactic order. Ambassador Miller, Nevrin began, his crystalline form shimmering in the light. "Thank you for agreeing to this historic meeting." Andrea took her seat. "Earth welcomes the Assembly delegation. What brings you to human space?" Nevrin's faceted eyes reflected complex colors, the equivalent of a smile in his species. After 25 years of transformation, the Galactic Assembly has reached an unanimous decision. We formally invite humanity to join us, not as subordinates, but as equals and leaders. Andrea kept her expression neutral despite her surprise. The last time humanity joined a galactic organization, it didn't end well. "We are not the Council," Nevrin responded. "The Assembly was built on different principles, specifically principles learned from humanity." He activated a holographic display showing the new Assembly Charter. Andrea read through it carefully. Where the old Council had emphasized tradition and stability above all, the Assembly promoted innovation, self-determination, and transparent knowledge sharing. "These are human values," she observed. "Yes," agreed another delegate, a Vexari named Sure Telephone. "When humanity left and the Council collapsed, we faced a choice: evolve or perish. Those who embraced change survived. Those who clung to old ways did not." Later that day, Andrea addressed the United Nations with the Assembly's proposal. Representatives from Earth and all human colonies listened intently. 25 years ago, humanity was treated as a second-class species by the Council, Andrea said. My mother was an engineer on Centauri Station. She fixed problems the Council races couldn't solve, yet they never respected her or acknowledged her contributions. She displayed the assembly charter on the large screens. Now these same species ask us to join them as equals and leaders. The irony isn't lost on anyone. The debate lasted for weeks. Some argued that humanity was better off remaining independent. Others saw the benefits of shaping a new galactic civilization rather than standing apart from it. President Jane Cooper ultimately supported joining. We left the Council because they refused to treat us as equals. If we reject the Assembly for the same reason, we become what we despised. 3 months later, Andrea returned to Space Station Alpha to deliver Earth's answer to the waiting Assembly delegation. Humanity accepts membership in the Galactic Assembly, she announced, with the understanding that all member species stand as equals, regardless of technological development or age of civilization. Neverin bowed deeply, a gesture he had learned from studying human customs. The Assembly welcomes humanity with gratitude and hope. As they finalized the agreements, Andrea thought about how far the galaxy had come. The collapse that many had predicted would destroy humanity had instead forced a profound evolution. The old order had been rebuilt into something better, not through conquest, but through cooperation and shared innovation. That evening, Andrea looked out at the stars from her station quarters. Her mother had seen these same stars as symbols of limitation and frustration. Now they represented possibility and partnership. Humanity had abandoned the Galactic Council, and everything had collapsed, only to be rebuilt stronger, wiser, and more just than before.